Hi, very glad to see you on the channel. Before you start listening to the story, write in the comments whether you like the voice on the video. People say marriage is about compromise. I say marriage is about consistency. Knowing the person you wake up next to is the same one you married, not perfect, but predictable. You build a life on that foundation. You trust that what you have is solid. That is what I used to believe. While you're here, leave a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to know. Danielle and I met 8 years ago at a charity gala she was organizing. I had been dragged there for work, shaking hands with wealthy investors who pretended to care about causes while calculating tax benefits in their heads. I was halfway through a dull conversation with a real estate developer when she walked by, clipboard in hand, directing waitstaff with the kind of confidence that turned heads. Danielle had an energy that could fill a room. She was the kind of person who could make a stranger feel like an old friend in minutes. When we talked that night, I barely noticed the time passing. She had a way of making the most mundane things sound exciting, as if everything in life was an adventure waiting to happen. We dated for a year, the city becoming our playground. Late-night ramen shops, rooftop bars, spontaneous weekend road trips. Danielle lived like she was afraid of missing something. I liked the contrast. I was methodical, structured. She was spontaneous, impulsive. Somewhere in between, we found balance. Or at least, that is how it seemed at first. 7 years of marriage changes things. I wake up at 6:30 every morning, get dressed, make coffee. Danielle rolls out of bed an hour later, her phone already in her hand, scrolling through emails before she even makes it to the bathroom. Our mornings used to be filled with easy conversation. Now, they are mostly silence, punctuated by the sound of her nails tapping against her screen. Her job keeps her busy. That is the excuse she gives, anyway. I have a corporate dinner tonight, she says over breakfast, stirring cream into her coffee. Might run late. She says it so casually, like it is expected. I nod. Which client? She hesitates, just for a second. Oh, you don't know them. New account. The firm wants to impress them. That is how it always goes. The names change, the reasons shift, but the pattern stays the same. She leans in, pressing a quick kiss to my cheek before grabbing her bag. Don't wait up, okay? I watch her walk out the door, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. I used to believe that consistency was the foundation of a strong marriage. But lately, I have been wondering, what happens when consistency turns into routine? And what happens when that routine starts to feel like a lie? Danielle used to be the kind of woman who could get ready in 10 minutes and still turn heads. She had a natural confidence, an ease about her that never required effort. But lately, effort is all I see. She stands in front of the bedroom mirror, adjusting the thin gold chain around her neck, then smooths her dress down over her hips. It is not the dress itself that catches my attention, it is the fact that she bought it last week, still new enough that the fabric has not lost its stiff perfection. You're really leaning into this whole work event thing, I say from the bed, where I am finishing up emails for the night. She glances at me in the mirror, lips curving slightly. Networking is everything in my job. She picks up her phone, taps the screen, then sets it down again, this time face down. I stretch, setting my laptop aside. Which client is it tonight? Her hand stills on the jewelry box. The hesitation is small, but I see it. Just some executives from out of town, she says. Not really a client yet, more of a potential partnership. Her reflection meets mine in the mirror, just for a second. Who's the contact? I ask. She lets out a soft laugh, shaking her head. Why so many questions? Curious, that's all. She picks up her phone again, scrolling quickly. When she sets it down, I see the message preview light up for a brief moment. Boss D, see you soon. I do not say anything. Not yet. Dinner at home used to be easy. We would talk about our days, argue over which takeout place to order from, complain about traffic. Now, the quiet stretches between us like an invisible wall. Danielle pokes at her pasta, eyes flicking toward her phone every few minutes. You seem distracted, I say. She looks up, forcing a smile. Just a lot going on at work. I set my fork down. You sure that's all it is? She exhales, shifting in her seat. Mark, I am just trying to figure some things out, okay? I need space to do that. Space. I nod slowly. All right. She looks relieved, like she expected me to push harder. I don't. Instead, I lean back in my chair and watch her carefully. Danielle has always been good at handling pressure. She thrives in fast-paced environments, juggles deadlines and clients like it is second nature. But tonight, she is slipping. She finishes eating quickly, excusing herself to shower before bed. Her phone stays on the table, buzzing once before going silent again. I glance at the screen. The message is from Boss D. A single word, tonight. Later that night, I find her planner open on the kitchen counter. Danielle is in the bedroom, drying her hair, oblivious to the fact that she left it out. I step closer, scanning the page. Friday night. Scribbled in her handwriting, meeting D, again, make it special. Small hearts decorate the edges of the note. I stare at the words, unmoving. For a long time, I tell myself it means nothing. Maybe it is work-related. Maybe she just likes doodling. But something about it sticks. I close the planner, leaving everything exactly as it was. I do not confront her. Not yet. Instead, I make a decision. From now on, I will be watching. The suggestion comes at the worst possible time. It is late, past 11, and I have just settled into bed with a book. Danielle sits beside me, her laptop open, scrolling through something with a distant expression. For the past few weeks, I have been waiting for this moment, some kind of confession, an argument, anything that would force the truth into the open. Instead, she sighs and says, I have been thinking about something. I close my book but do not look at her yet. Yeah. She hesitates. I think we should try an open marriage. The words come out too smoothly, like she has practiced them. Like she has said them to herself a dozen times before working up the nerve to say them to me. Now I do turn to face her. Come again. She shifts, brushing her hair over one shoulder, eyes carefully neutral. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. A lot of couples do it, Mark. It is not about not loving each other. It is about expansion. Growth. Strengthening what we have by allowing each other freedom. Expansion. Growth. Strengthening. Nice words. Words that sound intelligent and progressive, words designed to make me feel outdated if I push back. I let a silence settle between us before responding. What brought this on? She shrugs, looking down at her laptop. I have been reading about it. A lot of couples hit ruts, especially after so many years together. Sometimes introducing something new keeps things fresh. I watch her fingers tighten slightly on the keyboard, betraying the calm facade she is trying to project. She is lying. Not about the idea itself, no, she has thought about this. She has weighed the risks, tested the waters. But this is not about keeping things fresh. It is about permission. She wants this conversation to make me the difficult one. If I reject it outright, she gets to say I am rigid, old-fashioned. If I agree, well, that is a different kind of win for her. One that lets her rewrite whatever has already been happening behind my back. You are quiet, she says, watching me carefully. I expected more of a reaction. Would you prefer yelling? I ask flatly. She exhales, exasperated. No, of course not. I just thought. I don't know, you would ask more questions. Maybe even be a little open to the idea. I nod slowly, keeping my face unreadable. All right. Let's talk specifics. She blinks. What? If this is something you truly want, I say, voice even, let's talk details. Rules. Boundaries. Danielle was expecting resistance. Maybe even an argument. But this? This is not part of her plan. Mark, I don't want to force anything, she says carefully. If this isn't something you are comfortable with, you brought it up, I interrupt. I assume you have thought about it. So let's discuss. I can see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes now. She is scrambling, trying to figure out why I am not reacting the way she expected. I just want to make sure we are both happy, she says, softening her tone. I lean back against the headboard, arms crossed. And this is what will make you happy? She hesitates. I think it could help us both. The lie comes too easily. I tilt my head slightly. Do you have someone in mind? Her lips part, just slightly. No. Why would you ask that? Because usually, people who suggest things like this already have an opportunity lined up. Her fingers curl slightly in her lap. That is not true. All right. I let the word hang there, like a challenge. She shifts, clearly uncomfortable. You are not upset. Should I be? She lets out a nervous laugh. I just didn't expect you to be so open-minded about this. She does not mean it as a compliment. She is trying to read me, to figure out if I am testing her. And I am. Because I know exactly what this is about now. For months, she has been slipping away, growing distant. The late nights, the unexplained meetings, the name Boss D appearing on her phone, she thinks she has been careful, but careful people do not suddenly suggest open marriages. They do not start drawing hearts around another man's initials in their planner. She brought this up tonight because she thinks she has backed me into a corner. That I either have to agree or make myself the villain. But here is the thing about setting traps. Sometimes, you walk into one without realizing it is your own. Maybe we should sleep on it, she says finally, voice lighter now, like she is trying to steer the conversation towards safer ground. There is no rush. Just something to consider. I nod. Sure. She exhales, relieved. She thinks she has dodged a bullet. She does not realize I have already decided what happens next. She wants an open marriage. Fine. Let's see what happens when the game is played both ways. Danielle thinks she has me figured out. She believes I am sitting at home, brooding, struggling to process her ridiculous proposition. She assumes I am caught up in my own discomfort, too stunned to act, too rigid to do anything but wait for her to make the next move. She is wrong. Tonight, she is meeting Damon, the man behind Boss D, at one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. A place meant for special occasions, discreet meetings, and affairs conducted under dim candlelight. And while she slides into her seat, laughing over some inside joke with her boss, I will be at another table. Not alone. I call Zoe in the afternoon. We met a few months back at a social event. She was a +1 for a colleague, and I remember how easy the conversation had been. She had a sharp wit, the kind that kept people on their toes. At the time, I had not thought much of it. I was married, and that had been the end of it. Now, things have changed. Mark Fletcher, she says when she picks up. This is a surprise. I was thinking about grabbing dinner downtown tonight. Thought you might be interested. There is a brief pause. Then, a smirk in her voice. That is a bold move. What happened to your wife? She is out for the night. Work thing. Zoe hums. So you are looking for company? Something like that. She laughs lightly. I like a man who gets to the point. Sure. Pick me up at 7. I hang up, glancing at the clock. This is no longer about waiting. Danielle made her choice. Now, I am making mine. By the time I pull up to Zoe's apartment, she is already waiting outside, wrapped in a sleek black dress that leaves just enough to the imagination. She slides into the passenger seat with a smile. You clean up well, she says, glancing at my suit. Likewise. She tilts her head. So, what is the occasion? Let's just say I am testing something. She raises a brow but does not press. Good. I am not in the mood for explanations. We drive in comfortable silence, the city lights flickering against the windshield as we head downtown. The restaurant I chose is upscale but not pretentious, the kind of place where the food is good, the wine is better, and no one asks too many questions. It is also the same place Danielle picked. She does not know that yet. Danielle sits at a corner table, across from Damon. She leans in slightly, laughing at something he said, her manicured fingers tracing the rim of her wine glass. Damon, her married boss, watches her with a hunger that is impossible to miss. They are far enough into the evening that the tension is thick. This is not a casual business dinner. It has moved beyond that. To new experiences, Damon says, raising his glass. Danielle smiles, clinking hers against his. Across the restaurant, I lift my own glass. Not toward them, Zoe is sitting across from me, eyes sharp as she takes a sip of her cocktail. So, she says, tapping a nail against the stem of her glass, you want to tell me what this is really about? I meet her gaze, debating how much to say. Let's just say, I answer carefully, I am seeing things a little differently these days. She studies me for a moment, then smirks. That sounds like a story I want to hear. Meanwhile, Danielle's perfect evening is unraveling. She excuses herself from the table, standing with the kind of casual grace that suggests nothing is out of the ordinary. The truth is, she needs a moment. Even as she smiles at Damon, even as she lets herself lean into the thrill of it, something feels off. It is not guilt. It is something else. She crosses the restaurant, heels clicking softly against the polished floors. She glances toward the bar, and stops. Her entire body stiffens, breath catching in her throat. There, at a table near the back, is Mark. Not alone. He is leaning in slightly, saying something to a woman with dark hair and a knowing smile. She laughs, touching his wrist lightly, an effortless intimacy between them. Danielle's heart pounds. This was not how it was supposed to go. Mark was supposed to be home. Waiting. Danielle stands frozen near the bar, staring at me like I am a ghost that just walked through the wall. She was not expecting to see me here. She was expecting me to be home, stewing over her little open marriage proposition, giving her the perfect excuse to justify whatever she was doing with Damon. But I am not home. I am here. With Zoe. And for the first time in a long time, I have the upper hand. Her expression shifts from shock to something sharper. Anger. A territorial sort of rage that she has no right to feel. She marches over, heels clicking, barely masking the storm brewing beneath her polished exterior. You are on a date? She demands, voice low but heated. I take a sip of my drink before answering. Yes. Behind her, Damon hesitates, then follows a few steps behind like a reluctant shadow. His entire posture is stiff, uneasy. He is not just worried about this confrontation, he is worried about being seen. I glance at him briefly before shifting my gaze back to Danielle. Something wrong. Her nostrils flare. You, she inhales sharply, glancing at Zoe like she only just remembered she was there. Zoe raises an eyebrow but keeps her expression neutral. She does not know the full story, but she knows enough. She shifts slightly in her chair, crossing her legs, her presence as composed as ever. Danielle leans in closer, voice dropping. What the hell do you think you are doing? I lean in just as casually. Following your lead. She glares. This is not what I meant. I tilt my head slightly. No. You suggested opening our marriage. I assumed that meant both of us. Her lips press together, her hands curling into fists at her sides. Mark, behind her, Damon clears his throat. He wants to disappear. The man is visibly uncomfortable, shifting his weight from one foot to the other, his eyes flicking around the restaurant, probably hoping no one of importance recognizes him. I take my time studying him. Should I introduce myself? I ask smoothly. Danielle stiffens. Damon pales slightly. There it is. I already suspected. But now. Now I am sure. I lean back in my chair, studying my wife's boss like an interesting stock I am about to short. You must be Damon. He forces a tight smile. Damon Richards. I work with Danielle. I extend a hand, watching how hesitant he is to take it. When he finally does, his grip is clammy. Weak. You two seem close, I say. Danielle jumps in too fast. We are just networking, I cut her off with a small smirk. Sure. She exhales sharply, looking at me like she wants to strangle me. Zoe, still watching, clears her throat. I am Zoe. Mark's date. She extends her hand toward Danielle, smiling sweetly. Danielle hesitates for a fraction of a second before forcing a tight, polite smile. Right. Nice to meet you. Zoe sips her drink, eyes twinkling. Likewise. I have heard so much about you. Danielle's jaw twitches. She looks back at me, voice low. I need to talk to you. Alone. I glance at Zoe. Will you excuse me for a moment? She nods. Take your time. Danielle grabs my wrist, dragging me toward the side of the restaurant, near the dimly lit hallway leading to the restrooms. The second we are out of earshot, she whirls on me. You are doing this to hurt me, she hisses. I exhale, shaking my head slightly. No, Danielle. I am doing this because I see exactly who you are now. Her eyes flash. This is childish, Mark. You are being petty, I cut her off. I know about you and Damon. She freezes. For a moment, there is no sound but the distant hum of restaurant chatter and the clinking of silverware. Then she blinks. That is ridiculous. Is it? I fold my arms, staring her down. Late nights. Secretive texts. The name Boss D popping up on your phone. Scribbled notes in your planner that say, make it special. Should I go on? She swallows hard, her mask cracking. I take a step closer. Tell me the truth, Danielle. How long? She shifts on her feet. Mark, how long? She glances away. That is all the answer I need. I shake my head, chuckling dryly. So that is why you wanted an open marriage. Not to strengthen us. Not to grow. You were just trying to clear your own conscience. She presses her lips together, then finally snaps, all right, fine. Yes, I made a mistake. But I was trying to fix it. I laugh. A real, bitter laugh. Fix it? You were sleeping with your boss while telling me we needed to expand our marriage. That is fixing it. Her hands shake at her sides. You were never supposed to find out. There it is. Not I am sorry. Not it was a mistake. Just that I was not supposed to find out. I inhale, exhale. Then I deliver the final blow. That is why I already spoke to a divorce attorney. The words hit her like a slap. She blinks rapidly, like she misheard me. What? I nod, keeping my voice calm. I saw this coming, Danielle. I saw the way you were pulling away, the way you were covering your tracks. So I prepared for it. She shakes her head, stepping back. No. No, you are just trying to scare me. Am I? I pull my phone from my pocket, tap a few times, and show her the screen. A forwarded email from my lawyer, outlining initial steps for a legal separation. She stares at it. Then at me. And for the first time all night, she looks afraid. Danielle storms out of the restaurant first. She does not look back. She does not wait for Damon, either. She just grabs her purse, mutters something under her breath, and disappears through the glass doors. Damon hesitates. He shifts on his feet like he is debating whether to follow her or pretend this never happened. His eyes dart to me once, then to Zoe. His face is flushed, not just with embarrassment, but with the creeping realization that his carefully contained affair has just slipped out of his control. I smirk. You should probably go after her. Would not want her running her mouth to the wrong people. Damon clears his throat. This is not what it looks like. I tilt my head. Really? Because it looks like you have been sleeping with my wife while wearing a wedding ring of your own. His face hardens, but he does not deny it. That is all the confirmation I need. He exhales sharply, straightens his tie, then pushes through the door, vanishing into the night after Danielle. I sit back down, rolling my shoulders, letting the tension drain. Zoe watches me carefully. That was brutal. I nod. It was necessary. She takes a sip of her drink. So, what now? I glance at my phone. No messages from Danielle, not that I expected one. She is probably already home, pacing, trying to spin this situation into something where she is still the victim. I throw some cash onto the table and stand. Now. I go home and finish what she started. The apartment is dark when I get back. Danielle is waiting, standing in the center of the living room, arms crossed so tightly it looks painful. She has already changed out of her dress, now in leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, but the tension in her body tells me she has not relaxed at all. The second I shut the door behind me, she launches in. You humiliated me, she spits. I drop my keys onto the counter and shake my head. You humiliated yourself. She steps forward, hands shaking at her sides. You manipulated this whole situation. You twisted my words, made it look like I was the one destroying our marriage, when really, you were just waiting for an excuse to get out. I exhale, unbothered. Danielle, you were already cheating on me. The open marriage nonsense was just you trying to make it easier on yourself. What? You thought if I played along, you would get a free pass. She flinches but recovers quickly. I was trying to keep our relationship from falling apart. I let out a short laugh. By screwing your boss. She clenches her jaw. It was harmless excitement. I step closer, forcing her to meet my eyes. It was months of deception. Of lying to my face. Of sneaking around, hiding your phone, covering your tracks. That is not harmless, Danielle. She swallows hard but does not speak. I shake my head. You know what? I do not even care about the excuses anymore. The fact is, you made the choices. Now you are just mad because you are finally facing the consequences. Her breath comes short, ragged. She wants to argue, to lash out, to twist the blame onto me. But for the first time, she has nothing to say. I walk past her, into the bedroom, and grab a duffel bag from the closet. She watches, eyes widening. What are you doing? I unzip the bag and start throwing in clothes. I am leaving. Her whole body tenses. You are serious? I glance up, holding her gaze. Dead serious. She steps closer, hands trembling now. Mark, you cannot just throw away everything we built. I zip up the bag and sling it over my shoulder. No, you threw it away. I am just walking away from the wreckage. A knock at the door interrupts her next argument. We both freeze. Danielle blinks, confused. Who the hell? The knock comes again, harder this time. I nod toward the door. Go on. Might as well face all your consequences at once. She hesitates, then slowly walks to the door, unlocking it. The second it swings open, she gasps. A woman stands on the other side, eyes red-rimmed, breathing heavy. Her dark hair is pulled into a messy ponytail, and she clutches a crumpled receipt in one shaking hand. I do not need an introduction. I already know who she is. Damon's wife. Her lips part, trembling. Danielle. Danielle steps back, like she has been struck. Regina holds up the receipt, her hand shaking. You were at the restaurant tonight. With my husband. Danielle is silent. Regina's voice cracks. How long? Danielle's breath comes fast, panicked. She looks at me, as if expecting some kind of rescue. I exhale, shaking my head. No one is going to save you from this, I say. Her face crumples. Regina lets out a ragged breath, then shoves the receipt into Danielle's chest before storming off down the hallway. The silence that follows is absolute. Danielle stares after her, the reality of what just happened sinking in. She turns to me, eyes wide, desperate. Mark, I walk past her, out the door, without looking back. Danielle stands in the doorway like a deer caught in headlights, her lips parted but no words coming out. Regina's presence has turned this from a private implosion into a public collapse. I cross my arms, leaning against the counter, watching. Regina grips the crumpled restaurant receipt in her hand, breathing heavily, as if it might change what she already knows. You have been sleeping with my husband, she says, voice raw. How long? Danielle sways slightly, her hand gripping the edge of the doorframe. Regina, how long? Regina demands. Danielle's gaze flickers to me, as if expecting backup. She will not get it. I shake my head. Do not look at me. I did not make this mess. Her throat bobs as she swallows hard. Then she looks back at Regina and lies. It was not like that, she says quickly. Damon and I, we just got close. It was never serious. Regina's mouth curls into something ugly. Close. She lets out a sharp, humorless laugh. Do you think I am an idiot? Danielle opens her mouth again, but Regina is not done. I know about the hotel reservations, Danielle. She pulls out her phone, scrolling before turning the screen around. Your name was on the guest log. His corporate card was charged. Do you know what that means? Danielle's breath catches. It means, Regina continues, voice cold, that Damon did not even bother to cover his tracks. His employer will see this. The company's ethics committee will see this. He is about to lose everything, and you, sweetheart. You were dumb enough to let your name be attached to it. Danielle stumbles back, as if trying to physically distance herself from the truth. This is not happening, she mutters. Regina takes a step forward. Oh, it is happening. And you have ruined more than just your marriage. Damon is on the verge of losing his entire career because of you. Danielle shakes her head wildly. No, this is not just on me. He made his own choices. Yes, Regina snaps. And I am going to make him pay for them. Danielle's breath comes in short, panicked gasps. What does that mean? It means, Regina says slowly, that I am divorcing him. And I am going after everything. Danielle whirls toward me, as if I might somehow fix this. Mark, she breathes, voice desperate, please, can you just talk to her? She is overreacting. I laugh. The sound is sharp, bitter, and full of finality. Are you serious? I ask. You think I am going to step in and help you clean up this disaster? Her hands tremble. Mark, you are my husband, not for much longer. Her face crumples, but I do not let her speak. You want to talk about overreacting? I continue, voice steel. Regina just found out her husband is screwing around with you, at his job. She has every right to destroy him. And you? Danielle blinks rapidly. Me? Regina smirks, tilting her head. Oh, you did not think you could walk away from this untouched, did you? Danielle's hands clutch at the edge of the counter. Regina, please, you were knowingly involved in a long-term affair with a married man, Regina says, her voice as sharp as broken glass. You helped sabotage my marriage. In some states, that gives me legal grounds to sue you. Daniela's face drains of color. What? Alienation of affection, sweetheart. Danielle looks like she might collapse. I push off the counter, exhaling through my nose. You wanted an open marriage, Danielle. Congratulations. You got it. And now the whole damn world is about to find out. She grips my arm, voice breaking. Mark, please, I step away. You are not my problem anymore. Regina nods, satisfied. She turns on her heel, striding toward the door. Before she leaves, she glances back. See you in court, Danielle. Danielle chokes out a sob. The door slams shut behind Regina. Silence. Danielle sways, staring blankly at the closed door, her breath coming in uneven bursts. Then, slowly, she turns to face me. Her voice shakes. Are you really leaving me? I exhale sharply, running a hand through my hair. Danielle, I already left the moment you decided to cheat. Tears spill down her cheeks. I made a mistake. No, I interrupt, shaking my head. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. A mistake is saying something in anger. This was deliberate. Planned. You lied to me for months. Her breath catches. I glance at my duffel bag by the door. She follows my gaze. You are really going, she whispers. I nod. Yes. She reaches out like she might grab my hand. Mark, please. I will end it with Damon. I will do whatever you want. I step back. You already made your choice, Danielle, I say quietly. Now you just have to live with it. I pick up my bag. And I walk out. Danielle's world is unraveling. I watch it happen from a distance, detached, as if observing the slow collapse of a burning building. 3 days have passed since I walked out. I have been staying in a hotel while finalizing the divorce paperwork. Meanwhile, Danielle is still in the apartment, our apartment, clinging to whatever scraps of stability she has left. But stability is an illusion. Damon's lawyers have already reached out to her, pressuring her to keep quiet. They know Regina is preparing for war, and they need damage control. If this goes public, Damon could lose his career, his reputation, everything. Danielle knows it too. Her texts to me have changed tone. At first, they were defensive. Accusations. Blame. Then came the panic. Mark, we need to talk. Please. You don't have to leave like this. You can't just walk away from our marriage. But I can. And I did. I returned to the apartment that evening, not to make peace, but to finish what she started. When I walk in, she is waiting for me, perched on the couch like a ghost of the woman she used to be. Dark circles smudge beneath her eyes. A half-empty glass of wine sits on the table beside her. She looks up as I shut the door. You finally came back. I drop my keys on the counter. Not for long. She exhales shakily. Mark, we need to talk. No, I say, shaking my head. We needed to talk months ago. Now. We are just cleaning up the wreckage. She flinches but forces herself to sit up straighter. I think we should work through this together. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Together? I gesture between us. Danielle, there is no we anymore. You burned that to the ground. Her eyes flash. You are just walking away. After all these years. I step forward, leaning against the chair across from her. You cheated on me for months. Lied to my face. Then had the audacity to suggest an open marriage just so you would not have to feel guilty. And now you want to fix things because it is inconvenient for you. She bites her lip, her fingers tightening around the stem of her glass. It was never about wanting to hurt you, then what was it about? She stares at the wine in her hands, not meeting my gaze. I lost myself somewhere along the way. Damon made me feel alive again. I nod slowly. And now? She exhales, voice barely above a whisper. Now. I am losing everything. There it is. The real reason she wants me back. She is not sorry for what she did. She is sorry for what it cost her. I take a folder from my bag and set it on the table in front of her. Divorce papers. I had them drafted. Her breath catches. Mark, this is your bed, Danielle. Time to lie in it. The confession comes later, a final attempt to salvage something from the ruins. As I pack my things, she leans against the doorframe of our bedroom, arms wrapped around herself. I never meant for you to see anyone else, she admits, voice hollow. I did not want to feel guilty about Damon. I zip up my suitcase, not looking at her. I know. She takes a slow, unsteady breath. Do not let our marriage end like this. I finally meet her eyes. It ended the moment you decided I was not enough. She wipes at her face, but I do not stay to watch. I pick up my bag, walk to the door, and leave her standing there. Meanwhile, across the city, Damon is making his own moves. Danielle calls him late that night, desperation thick in her voice. You need to fix this. Damon sighs heavily on the other end. What do you expect me to do, Danielle? Regina is threatening legal action. If she sues for alienation of affection, she could drag me into it. You need to stop her. Damon chuckles coldly. Regina is out for blood. She is not stopping for anyone, least of all you. Danielle grips the phone tighter. I will tell your board everything. I will make sure your career goes down with me. Damon's voice turns ice cold. If you do that, Danielle, I will make sure you come out of this looking worse. You were the one throwing yourself at me, remember? You think my lawyers will not twist that into something that protects me? Silence. You are on your own, he says simply. Then he hangs up. Danielle stares at the dead phone screen, her reflection staring back at her. For the first time, she realizes she has no one left. Thank you for listening to the end, I hope you enjoyed it very much. Don't forget to give a like, and tell us in the comments what you would do in such a situation.